Hello and welcome to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. This is the second and final game in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles duology, and is apparently going to be the game that blows my mind, because the first game I heard was not super stellar, which was true, so if that's true, at least it makes me more inclined to believe that the second game is actually out of this world. So part of me is very excited to play this game because I've heard nothing but anything praise about it, but the other part of me is kind of sad to play it because previously the only thing stopping me from playing all the Ace Attorney games was just waiting for proper localizations to be released. But now there is nothing stopping me because after I beat this game, there will be no more Ace Attorney games available anywhere to play, at least official ones released from Capcom. So this is the end of the road, the end of the line, the final showdown, like for five more cases, and then my journey with the Ace Attorney franchise will have come to a close, at least until Capcom decides to announce a new game, which will hopefully be sooner rather than later, if at all. But that's all for our little intros here, so now we're going to go ahead and get started and select our adventure. Before we actually dive into the game, I have a couple things I want to get out of the way. First things first, this game has a lot to take care of, because if you didn't see my Let's Play of the first game, then allow me to give you a brief refresher course on exactly all the things, because the first game resolved the lingering questions of Mr. McGilded and Gina Lestrade and the mystery of the omnibus case and all that, but it didn't resolve basically anything else. So yeah, I've gone ahead and I've compiled it because I tried to list some at the end of my last LP, but I knew I didn't get them all. So here I've compiled a list of everything that I can remember from the first game that needs to be resolved. There might be more that I've just not been stuck in my mind, but these are the ones that immediately jumped to my head when I made this list. So first things first, Giselle Brett needs to face justice for her actions because she faced no justice for them at the end of the first case of the last game. That's number one. 2, what's going on with Inspector Hasanaga? He clearly has some kind of illness going on. What's the deal with that? 3, what was Kazuma's quest in Britain? Why was he going there? What was his purpose in going there? 4, is Kazuma dead? Probably not, but I guess we'll find out. 5, what's the deal with Bolshevik, the guy from the second case that said he's fled his home country and apparently may or may not have been exposing secrets between governments? And was he actually on the jury in the last case? I don't know. At the time of recording this video, the last episode isn't out. Actually, the only episode that's out at the time of recording is the first episode of the final case, so I have no idea if people have already answered that question or not. Who knows? Maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't. Sure looked like him, though. So anyway, 6. On the topic of the jury, why were all the juries so goddamn stacked? I didn't mention this at the end of the last game because I didn't want to cite it as a flaw just yet. But every single jury was stacked to the brim with either the most biased people on the planet or people that have been seemingly concocted in a lab, like meticulously chosen to have direct relevance to what was actually going on in the case. So I do not believe for even a second that you could not convince me that that was based on random luck. So either the writers got lazy or that there's some kind of deeper purpose going on there behind why the jury is so stacked every time, because they did kind of imply that there might be something going on behind the scenes as to why the jury is so stacked every time, but I guess we'll find out if that's actually a thing or not. 7, is the Justice Minister corrupt, and if so, by whom, how, and for what purpose? So that's another thing that we need to take care of. 8, who were those 2 people from Case 4? Who were the 2 randos from Case 4 that showed up for like 5 seconds and then disappeared when we were trying to go to the prison, but they made us go to the street instead? That's one thing that I'm curious about. 9, Iris needs to learn about her parents. There's gonna be a conversation at some point that we're gonna have to have with Iris about her parents, about John H. Wilson, whatever the hell's going on there, because we can't keep her in the dark forever. 10, what is so important about the House of Bakersville story? Why is that such an important story that no one can tell for any reason? And further to that point, 11, how does Sato even know about the story in the first place? 12, what's the full transcript of the encoded message that was on that music disc at the end of the last game? Why is Kazuma's name on that list? How is he connected to Wilson? Will we ever see Gina again? Is Susato's father going to make it? Is he going to survive? Will Susato return? She damn well better. And if so, how long is it going to take for her to do so? But most importantly, the most important question is, what is the greater conspiracy between the British Empire and the Empire of Japan? I have no idea what the answers to most of these questions are, I can surmise answers to some of them, such as, is Kazuma dead, and is the Justice Minister corrupt, and will we ever see Gina again, things like that. But by and large, I have no idea what's going to happen next. I'm hoping that this game is actually going to resolve all these points, since the subtitle of this game is literally Resolve, so here's hoping. But before we get started, there's one more thing I want to take care of, which is that I mentioned in the last case that I planned on using costumes in the second game, because if we go to the special content section, you'll see in the, if the game would load, that'd be great, thanks. Thank you very much. If you go to the tailor, you'll see that there are costumes available for Ryutaro Naruhodo, Susato Mikutaba, and Airlock Shomes. So, but basically, I mean, this isn't a surprise. We knew full well that she'd be returning in Great Ace Attorney 2. She's on the cover of the game. It'd be insane if she didn't return at some point, so this, I don't consider this to be a spoiler. However, on the topic of spoilers, I have been told by someone in the comments that they highly advise against using, I was gonna say using spoilers, using these costumes for the first case of the game for reasons that they will not explain here for spoilers. And I gotta be honest, I've been racking my brain ever since I saw this comment, and I have absolutely no idea what could possibly be considered a spoiler about using costumes in any of the games. Like, I've been racking my brain, I've been trying to figure it out, because, here, like, usually when someone tells you, don't do that thing, it's a spoiler. You can usually surmise, because, like, for instance, in my Danganronpa V3 LP, when I was talking to Forget 45, and I was looking up the name Team Danganronpa, you remember she frantically tried to stop me, saying, I'm gonna stop you right there, because you're gonna spoil yourself. So naturally, my thought process is, well, that's a little silly, because you're telling me to not look up the name of the people, presumably not look up the name of the development team subset within Spike Chunsoft responsible for making Danganronpa, and yet you're also telling me that doing so is a spoiler. So that's obviously a blatant contradiction, so then my mind went to work, and I'm like, okay, so how can that be considered a spoiler? And then I remember things from earlier in the game, like, okay, it's all a TV show, great. No, I don't care that I spoiled that, because that game is terrible and you shouldn't play it. So, plus you know that within the first 5 seconds of the game anyway, so who cares? So usually you can come to the conclusion of, like, why someone doesn't want you to do a thing for spoilers, but I gotta be honest, I got nothing. I have no clue what in the world could be considered. I'm not gonna turn on the costumes for spoilers either, because I don't know, maybe the costumes themselves are spoilers. I only have two possible reasons for why this person said this, which is A, and it's a long shot, but maybe they put on, like, during in-game, they have a moment where they put on a costume resembling Phoenix or Maya or Gumshoe or something like that, and if you put on these alternative costumes, it robs you of that moment. Or the reverse, which is that putting on these costumes is a spoiler for something that happens later. Like, maybe there's something embroidered in one of the costumes that spoils something that happens later in the game. I don't know why they would do that, because the other thing, too, is that if you go into, I think it's the gallery, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it's the gallery, where if you go to one of these things... Okay, I could have sworn that there's some part in the gallery somewhere where if you go too far, it says, warning, if you go any further, there are spoilers in this section, so please don't go any further. I can't seem to find it now, but there are sections like that. So, and there was no such warning for the tailor, so I don't know on there, but I'm gonna take the person's word for it. We're not gonna use costumes for the first case. We're just gonna jump straight in to the Great Ace Attorney 2, resolve, start a brand new game, and see where this goes. Let's get started.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital.
Alright, I got a great solution. Come home.
You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court.
He's probably playing with the cat. Well, let's be honest here, he's probably playing with the cat. Wait.
Forgive me.
No!
For taking so long to come to visit you.
He's not dead,
My
surely.
life has been such a whirlwind since I returned.
There's no way, I call bullshit. No way. No way they killed him up before the game even began.
No one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself faced with another awful crime.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
What?
So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Oh, okay, so it's not, okay, wait a minute! Wait a minute! Holy hell! Huh! The Mad Lads actually did it! It's been like 1 minute since I pressed the new game button. Huh! Alright, well there's our answer. That would be why they didn't want me to use costumes. Holy hell! That's exactly what I said they should have done. That's exactly what I said they should have done in case 3 of the last game. I said in a completely offhanded comment, hey, you know what would be cool if they did? Because clearly she has a knack for the law. Clearly she has passion for this job. You know what would be cool is if they made her a lawyer by the end of the game. And lo and behold, the Mad Lads did it. That's why. I guarantee you she has some souped up lawyer getup now. And that's why they didn't want me to use costumes. Holy hell, the Mad Lads did it. That is awesome. Oh my god, I can't wait. Okay, let's get started. I can't wait to play. That is freaking fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted them to do. August 13th, 8:26 a.m., Supreme Court Adjudicature Defendant Thing to Chamber 3. Here I am again after 9 months. The Supreme Court Adjudicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. You look very not sick, my dude. Okay, I thought for sure that she was at his grave. In the opening cutscene of the game. Apparently she was not. Apparently that was Kazuma's grave, which, by the way, could you have picked a more remote place to put his grave? But, oh boy. My dude, you look very not sick. I don't even know what voice I gave you. Good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, Counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh, dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous, I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born. Alright, let's style it back a bit. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. My dude, you look very not sick. What's going on here? Yujin Mikotaba, professor of medicine at the— oh wow, the professor of medicine fell ill. Oof, that's gonna be a yikes for me, dude. A man who, earlier in his life, traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science, which obviously did not do him all that great wonders. And of course, my brilliant father. Defendant? Hi there.
Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today?
Huh,
Yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, the whole thing.
Uh-huh. Rei Membami, born the same year as I, am my greatest friend. So, though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial. Okay, so I don't know how this happened. I don't know what circumstances led up to her becoming a lawyer today, but god damn it, this is exactly what I wanted to see in case 3 of the last game, and it's happening. I never in a million years thought they would have the guts to do this. But boy howdy, they came through. The Mad Lads did it. Accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to become a little flushed.
Oh my, well, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing.
Sorry?
And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful.
Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. She doesn't... What? Are you two... How could she not hold on, wait a minute. how could she possibly not recognize who you are? If you're supposed to be best friends, how in the world could she not recognize you? It would seem, especially when her father's right there, like, come on. It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work.
Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotaba?
If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax.
Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before.
Oh, they are really building up to the reveal of what costume she has on.
I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be, but this does make me feel a little relieved, did you say, Father? Father? What? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. No! What are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you. You look for all the world to look just like a student of the Imperial University, a male student.
Oh, is that what we're doing? Oh, is that what we're doing?
Mr. I'll make a man out of you.
We are straight up doing Milan, aren't we? We are straight up doing Milan, aren't we? Okay. Alright, I'm down for it. Let's do it. Just as long as we're not doing the 2020 version. I'm down for it. Let's do it. Let's do this. I am ready. Here we go.
It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see...
It was the only way that you'd be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial.
My defense?
I don't know what circumstances have led to this point, but I am so goddamn excited to get into it.
Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women.
Oh, please. Oh, my God, please. Please, oh, please, please let Ouchie Payne be the prosecutor for this trial. I want to watch the color drain from his face when it's revealed at the end that it was actually her the whole time. Please, oh, please, I beg of you. Give me that reveal. Give me the satisfaction of watching him scrounge up like a little turtle, just hiding in his corner like, why, this is not allowed. This is not allowed. This is cursed. What's happening? I want to see that so goddamn bad.
Despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike.
Give me that payoff. You've already given me one. I'll give me another one.
But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. No, I have complete faith in you, Ray. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already, and yet just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing.
She has a little crush on Susato, doesn't she?
Ray? Please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just, you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice.
Alright, Capcom, don't be a coward like Spike Chunsoft. Actually pay off this relationship. You should be pleased. Means you look convincing as a man.
I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today.
They are just straight up doing Milan, aren't they?
Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face and all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side, because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. It means so much to me, Susato.
Defendant counsel.
You know, maybe you shouldn't have discussed your master plan of Mulan trickery in front of the two bailiffs right there. Maybe not the big brain plan you thought it was.
Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once.
You should go in at once, right? I'm sorry, is he not sick? You should be, like, mega sick right now. Wasn't the whole thing that she came back because... Or did she come back... Or, unless they're trying to say that she came back not because of her father, but because she needed to be her defense lawyer. In which case, really? It took 2 days for Ryunosuke to have his trial. It took 50 days for Ray. Okay. Interesting.
Oh! Stand aside!
I
I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast.
Well, Susato, you certainly surprised your father, going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer.
There was simply no other way, that's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this?
I don't know either! Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that.
And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was?
Who was the victim? We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student.
Thank you, father.
I'm sorry, don't you have, like, cancer or something?
I'm Susato Mikotaba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain, but 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times I wish that he were here, I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san.
Okay, this case has my intrigue. We don't know anything about the case. We don't know who the victim was. We don't know what the circumstances were, where it was, or anything about it. All we know is that Susato's a defense attorney, and that's all I need to know. This is what I wanted since the last game, and this wasn't even on my list. I have like a list of like 1,000 things that I need to wrap up at the end of this game, and it's like nothing. It wasn't even on the list, and they gave it to me anyway. The Mad Lads. What a way to open this game. Yeah, oh, yes, it's Ouchie Pain. Yes, oh yes, it's Ouchie. Oh, what voice did I give you? Honestly didn't think I'd have to see you again for the rest of the game.
The court is now in session to hear the trial of Remember Me.
The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency.
Oh my god, she looks awesome.
Defense counsel, are you ready?
Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Oh, she even has the same quirks that Ryunosuke does.
Yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is,
Ryutaro Naruhodo. Really? Okay then.
Sorry?
Oh, yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture, so I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind.
Well, counsel?
Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryutaro, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan.
It seems Ryutaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild, wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen.
Naruhodo?
A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be...
You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of his study program. This is,
His cousin.
That's right. Ryutaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any Tokyo's preeminent lawyers.
Any of them.
Tut, tut, tut. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy.
Oh, buddy, you're gonna bite your tongue real badly.
How dare you?
Oh, you. How can you mess up this early? It's been 1 minute. We've been in the courtroom for 1 minute. You've already messed up. God damn it, Ray. You had one job. You had one job, which was to say nothing and let Susato do all the talking. But no, you had to go and say her name, idiot.
I won't have you making fun of God.
Her.
Oh, yeah, I do. Please be careful, Ray. You absolute moron.
Hush, hush, hush. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you?
Against you, I'm ready for anything.
His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not.
I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are wont to flit.
That's a sentence. But oh my god, she looks so awesome in her costume. Thank you for the warning to not put on new costumes, Jesus Christ. That would have been terrible. That would have been awful if I had... Jesus, okay.
The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may very well affect the very future of our empire.
Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown Yoko by the dock? Dear me.
Perhaps this will be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense, to determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this court.
You're right. We do the thing where you ask me the defendant's name and my name and the court record and da-da-da-da-da. I get it. I've played like 10 of these games before.
9 months ago, when I stood in Northern Naruhodo stood where you're standing now, this same judge tested him as well.
Oh, please give me the option. Give me the option, please. Give me the option to skip it, please. I beg of you. Give me the option to skip it. Do what Charles Relations did. Be good. Be good, game.
For a trained and experienced assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions?
She looks so awesome. Alright, it's time to prove myself. She still has all the same quirks as Ryunosuke, like a spitting image. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple.
Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim.
Whew, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried.
You already forgot, didn't you?
What's the matter? Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something that else Naruhodo goes through. Like it or not, minds are wont to blank.
It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise, even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances.
Oh dear, this is a dismal failure.
Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome this problem. That being the knowledge of pushing the R button when the game lets me.
Of course, the court record. Yeah, okay, I know, I've played like 1,000 of these games, I got it, court record, okay. So, post-mortem report, victim, ha! Oh! Oh! Okay then! Yikers, well, alright, let me check that one off the list. Giselle Brett needs to face justice. Check. Got that one knocked off the list. Wow, oh my, we are just firing on all cylinders today, game. Victim, Giselle Brett, female British, time of death August 11th at around 2 p.m., ascertained by examination of witness statements. Cause of death, single deep stab wound from behind piercing a lung resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Note, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction was observed in the victim in both eyes. What? Okay. I guess that's one way to start off. Okay, so, wait, so is the victim... Jesus Christ. Mark that on the list of things that I did not expect to see today. Jesus.
I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case?
Apparently Giselle Brett.
Yes!
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett.
A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why, then, is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Obviously, you wouldn't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago, but if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record.
Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett, behind the woman student persona, was the face of a killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yamai University was killed, and the culprit was Giselle Brett.
Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of the delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotaba? Yes, I was indebted to the man. He's been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yuma University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryutaro Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense. And exposed a despicable crime, also known as, if you didn't play the first game, why are you here? But if you are here, then, here's your recap. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion.
Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead.
Why Shanghai?
Is a British consular court there? Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship.
And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed.
Only the day before? What a coinky-dink.
That will do.
Oh! Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle.
Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Ouchie?
As is your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th of August in broad daylight.
Oh, what a lovely place.
On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut, erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett, in her bathing attire, and the accused, Ray Membami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
You want to give me some idea as to what that motive would be? Anything at all? No? Or are you just that useless as a prosecutor? That extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true. The prosecution summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about.
I mean, all of these. Can I pick all of them? Because I want to pick all of them. I'd like to choose the option where I pick all of them, please.
If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie.
What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student?
I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot.
Ha! My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, excellent for the skins.
No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea?
For old time's sake, I believe.
Sorry?
Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply.
But on what grounds would we agree to such a request?
Because, as usual, our government isn't able to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal.
Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong.
But in fact, a murder took place.
I said don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I.
No one has proved that yet.
I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to,
But it's so much fun. It's so easy. At this stage, I need to gather more information, I think. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up.
Okay, so I can't ask about all of them. Okay, good. Either that or I picked the wrong option. But I'm gonna ask about all of them if I can.
Membami-san. Yes? What is it? The Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryutaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present, a detective who was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all.
But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there was only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life.
No!
Because, as we know, the following day we would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity.
You think the Pains just own a cloning factory so that every single Pain looks exactly the same in every generation from now to the end of time? I get the feeling that might be a thing that happened.
Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel.
Shh.
The prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that, but for now at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let him goad you.
Oh dear, this is really terrifying. The father's right. We need more information. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution.
Okay, finally, which is the first thing that came to my attention, which is a powerful motive.
You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement.
Tut.
I beg your pardon?
No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yumai University, I believe.
Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotaba in his laboratory at the moment.
I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility.
Fascinating to hear. Now another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotaba, whose research were you assisting then?
Oh, well, I was studying under Dr. John H.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't prove that you did anything, but it does give you a motive, which, of course, is what these guys bank on.
A visiting English professor who was murdered by the Miss Brett 9 months ago?
Well, this just got a whole lot harder.
The accused has had a deep-seated respect for a former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true?
Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man.
Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him.
Don't answer that question.
Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what
You know, you're a sweet person, I must admit. You seem to be a nice person to be around. You seem to have a nice relationship with Susato. But goddamn, you are not very smart at all.
Oh no, Ray, be careful of what you're saying. Ah!
This is like what Larry Butts did in the first turnabout, like, I hated her because she was no good cheating on me. Ah!
The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration instead of continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions.
Seeing the murderer of the mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty.
Yes, if only it was temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment.
Poor Ray.
So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
Yikes, okay.
Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image.
As you can clearly see, there was nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden.
Maybe they were hidden inside the dress in the back. Maybe Ant-Man did it and he was hiding in the purse. I don't know. There's other options here, you never know.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
Photographic print of the scene taken by the police just after the incident occurred. Stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible.
As I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence.
Witnesses? But who?
I mean, what did you expect? Do you expect they weren't going to have witnesses?
One of whom, I might add, is
Oh, Inspector Hasanaga? Please tell me it's Inspector Hasanaga.
I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Yeah, if I had a penny for, if I had $1 for every time someone said that, it turned out to be wrong.
Very well then, Counsel. Bring forth your witnesses.
Ouchie Pain, I refuse to call you by that name because you will always be a pain in my ass. Have been waiting for this moment.
Sorry?
Oh, yes. I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me.
I mean, it's not that hard to do. A frog could humiliate you. If we got Kermit the Frog at the defense's bench, he would humiliate you in an instant. It would not be that hard. Well, yes?
This insult to the Ouchie family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Council, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. If it's the way of the world, may you never forget that.
And this is when they first started to flex their muscles in terms of the caliber of new animation quality they could show off.
Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died.
The start of your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, Council?
Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there's been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Ouchie growth. You see? You see this seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown?
I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where's the hope exactly?
I said silence! Today, I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you, and my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
It looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each has much to lose.
A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life.
Yeah, I better say, really? You're gonna compare his stupid little haircut to... Hey, Hasanaga! And... Oh! Huh. Didn't expect to see you again. Also, that's kind of a clever way to bring him back, because he said he went back to Japan. So that's a cool way to keep him in the story without making it feel forced, because obviously we're back in Japan now, so it makes sense for him to be here.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Chief Inspector Satoru Hasanaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected.
And I am, well, the next big thing in the books. An author renowned throughout the capital, in fact, yes. Soon to be sold out. The serial, I Am a Cat, a sensational success by Soseki Natsume.
Oh my goodness!
Struggling student from the provinces, please. You needn't be in awe of me.
I needn't?
It's only natural that you'd feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki, even.
Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here?
Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun.
Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hasanaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe.
Do I have something on my face? Yeah, I mean, yes, you have many things on your face.
Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either.
I mean, again, if your best friend, does it say how long they've known each other? Assistant to my best friend, no, I thought it would say how long they knew each other for. Presumably at least a few years. If she didn't even recognize you, these people have no chance in hell to recognize you. Although I will say, something I've not pointed out yet, I'll point out next time we show Ryutaro, I just said Ryutaro, Susato. I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to care. I hope he doesn't die. He better not die. He's so, I mean, he didn't show up in cases 3 through 5, but he was so nice. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present, but what business did a writer such as yourself have at being at the scene? I mean, well, that's not hard to believe. If I want to take a guess and say that being a writer, he wanted to find inspiration, so he went to the beach to have a nice, relaxing day, because that's something a lot of writers do, is they just go to a very enticing location. It could be a local park, could be just walking on the street, it could be anywhere. A beach is a great place to just kind of sit and admire the view and just let the inspiration flow through you. I'm guessing that would be his motivation for being there.
Ah, well, you see,
I have been asked to give a lecture, or it could be something completely unrelated to what I was talking about.
on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yamai University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less.
Yamai University?
After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. That professor over there, in fact.
With my Professor Mikutaba?
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who studied in Great Britain.
Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I can't hide the text box. Oh wait, can I temporarily do it? Okay, I can temporarily hide the text box. So this, so part of the story of Mulan was that she had to bound her breasts back so that no one would notice that when she came to camp, so that she could more easily pull off the disguise of being a man. She's not done that here, so I'm not entirely sure how no one in the courtroom, especially Ouchie Payne, has stopped to say, wait a minute, something hinky's going on here. Thank you very much. Practically threw the paper at me. Alright, newspaper containing an article about a discussion between my father and Seki-san. It became quite spirited. Let's, you know the drill. Read the newspaper. Or don't look at the other side. I was hoping that there'd be something on the other side that we'd be able to see, but no, it's just the front side. Oh, cat. Meow. Meow. Cute cat. Cute emotional support cat. Okay. I hope the cat comes back when we go back to Britain.
Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast, those were her words.
As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course.
At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance, and the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as the detective accompanies her. That detective, I'm at liberty to divulge, was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Thereby the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all of the members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. But fortunately, I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so...
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's the Aladdin moment where he goes, yeah, right, and his nose sticks out like Pinocchio.
I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my! Inspector, you... Well, you have something on your face now. How unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean that you went to the beach too, Father?
No, fortunately, I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place.
I'm really confused about this. Because, like, the whole thing is that she had to come back to Japan because her father was sick. He's very clearly not sick. He's very clearly doing just fine. And you might think, oh, well, he just said that to get her to come back to Japan because she needed to defend Ray. But I don't think that's the case, because it took like 3 days at maximum for Ryunosuke to be in court, like to have his trial in the first game. So I don't think it would have taken over a month for Ray to that'd be very convenient if for the first time in forever it actually took a decent amount of time for a trial to begin. I somehow doubt that was the case. So I don't know what's happening with his illness, whether it was I really don't get what happened there. But I guess we'll find out later. Maybe, I don't know.
Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But if only I had, I'd never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly, racked by remorse and regret.
Did he just drip the paint off the brush onto his tongue?
Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast.
The little turtle on his head that's bobbing up and down is adorable. Of course, Your Excellency.
Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am.
Okay. Let us begin. Witness testimony. The witnessed scene.
On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul behind me. I ran into the beach and hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes. That young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
Ah, foolish mistake. Oh, such a beginner's mistake, my friend. I'm starting to speak with a British accent. I've played this game for too long. I wasn't even... No one in this room has that voice, and I said it with the accent anyway. As you can... Well, that wouldn't be what proves it. As you can see by the post-mortem report, she was only stabbed a single time. So, such a beginner's mistake, my friend. Such a foolish beginner's error. Rookie mistake.
Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. This very moment of the heinous crime.
What?
Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it?
Correct, Your Excellency. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What?
Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more.
Ah, goodness me.
Yes.
The victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand.
That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency.
Ah, the owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Mamami, the initials of the defendant.
Ah, no!
Okay, well that could be for any reason. I mean, maybe she just gave her a pen because she was her assistant, so she could have been holding the pen for any reason. Like why would she just randomly grab a random pen that was just diddling around? Seems like a very silly thing to do. She could have just had the pen on hand.
So have I admitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence? There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel.
I don't understand. The prosecutor out chief 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
I wouldn't exactly say he has poise now either.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san!
Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me!
Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom?
Actually, there wasn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom.
Cousin Ryutaro, pull yourself together, please.
Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Finding inconsistencies in witness testimony to prove they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do!
Which, by the way, we're doing like Mulan meets Suits. That is exactly what's happening right here. We're doing the story of women aren't allowed in the courtroom, but she has to do it in order to protect someone she loves. And we're doing the Suits thing of she's not legally licensed to be a lawyer, but she's doing it because she wants to do the right thing. It's like Mulan meets Suits. That's a story okay. I like this so far. The witness scene. Because that's the thing. Like, it's the perfect payoff that I wanted in game one. Was her standing in court as a lawyer. I wanted this since because really, she's always had a passion for this. She's clearly always had a passion and a knack for this. I wanted this since day one, and it's finally happening. But beyond that, it also just makes perfect sense as a second game. Because the whole reason why they made Mia because like it's a question of was the idea for Mia being the defense attorney in Charles' relation born out of the story necessity or born out of we need a new way for a tutorial, let's have that. Either way, whatever the motivation for it was, it led to one of the best stories I've ever played in a video game. So it could be the same thing here. It could be that they just did this for the sake of having a new tutorial, or it could be that they did it because they really wanted to give her that payoff. But however they came about doing it, it was fantastic, because it knocks out 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyway, so you say it was Tosunaga who said that it was... Yeah, it wasn't. She wasn't said multiple times.
Objection!
With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed.
What's the meaning of that menacing pose, counsel?
I'd like the witness to clarify something for me.
Who, what, where, when?
How? Not you, Sasaki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What?
Get to the point, please, counsel.
In the, post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed 1 time only. In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. And Soseki-san,
Me?
you claim to have seen Membami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim.
Yes, I did. Wildly.
But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point, that there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and? It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once, therefore, there's no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. Ah, true.
And what exactly is your contention, counsel? Are you ever going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be.
Excellent work, Chisato. You exploded at them without objection, and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Shush, 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 shush. Well, well, this takes me back.
By the way, I love this music that's playing right now.
I seem to remember your.
It's like a perfectly tuned version of Naruhodo's theme for Susato.
I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago.
I wouldn't call it staging a scene, but
A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show.
You're right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair.
Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed.
I mean, if you want to get proportional about it, you do quite literally have half a head of hair.
In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference.
Oh, really? What? Why not?
Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim.
Or maybe she was trying to pull the knife out of her because she wanted to try to keep her alive.
All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustache author is prone to moments of extravagance.
Ah!
I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade,
Then we are back where we started.
sorry?
Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim, and with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too? The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good.
She might have been trying to save her life. Why did Ray pull out the knife to try to save her life?
Yes, going for the jugular.
What does Father mean by that?
Let the court hear your answer then, counsel.
The truth is, I really don't know, but I have to come up with a plausible reason here or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could save her life. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury.
Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer.
The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami's-san was compelled to act when faced with a wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life.
Shush, shush, shush. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem that this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
Is it just me or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may?
Speak, witness.
I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion as put forth by the Yokel Defense Counsel, I mean. Slipshod?
Shh. Excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I'll permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense's counsel assertion.
Yes, sir, I will do it flawlessly. Witness testimony. Forensic medicine primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge without any medical research assisted with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Okay, hold on. So, was it an instant kill or was it you have time to live? Because I'm pretty sure in fact I'm almost positive that there was the whole thing because that was her area of expertise was the fact, yeah, actually that's what it was. That was her area of expertise, was that she was working with the poison, and if Ray was her assistant, then she would also be working with the poison, so she would know how the poison works. So if there was any chance at all that there was any, again, I'd love to know what you guys are actually talking about here, because that'd make this really helpful. But I can't examine it, so I have no idea. But I guarantee you that there was poison involved in that knife in some way, because that would make perfect sense as to why she would want to pull it out, because if it's, unless, of course, if it's an instantaneous kill, it doesn't matter. But if it's anything like, even if it's just like she has a second or two to live, then obviously she wants to get the knife out of her body as fast as possible. That makes perfect sense. That's running on the assumption that there's poison on the knife, but again, it was her area of expertise. Ray would know how it works.
It seems to track logically to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but it seems to make perfect sense.
Could pulling a knife from wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes, think of the weapon itself.
I mean, yeah, we learned that in Bridge to the Turnabout. We've always known. That's not a surprise. But I'm running on the idea that the knife had poison on it, therefore pulling it out would be the best thing to do. Which apparently you all are too stupid to understand for yourselves, which doesn't surprise me given the fact that Ouchie Payne is the prosecutor.
Oh, I see.
Ha! This is why Yoko's just staying on the farm. Oh, shut the hell up. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village.
You have no idea how tempted I am to rip this hat off my face right now. Or rip this hat on my head, I guess.
Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see. Or pulled a blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit.
Father, is it true what they're telling me?
Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out the knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
No. I don't know.
Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but... Could my friend actually have...
Susato,
Yes?
pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah!
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify an issue with the established facts, I will be moving to my interrogation immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea that it would be this hard.
Welcome to the world of being a defense lawyer, I suppose. Cross-examination, okay. So the problem here is that I can't prove this, but I guarantee you that if you allow me to check the damn newspaper, that if their whole point is that they were discussing, if they were talking about this, I guarantee you that somewhere in there, they were talking, because that was her, like, he worked at the university, I guarantee you somewhere in there, they started talking about the poison that she was developing. So if you just let me examine the goddamn paper, then I would happily prove it to you, but you're not gonna let me do that. So I don't know what to do here. I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do here.
This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in the testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
Susato, it's a time. Oh, is it gonna let me do it now? Now that I've. Oh, okay, now you're gonna let me. Okay. So we're still stuck in. I know what to do. We're still stuck in tutorial mode. So that's why I couldn't examine it, which is annoying because I wish I could have done it. I could have done it by myself, but it's fine. Okay, so can I examine the newspaper now? Oh, now I can do it. And all right, I guarantee you somewhere on the back of this paper is something about the poison.
This is the newspaper from Soseki-san. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from my... I called it. I goddamn called it. I knew it. Well, from Yuma's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab?
What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen?
It's this morning's paper that Soseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know?
As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I've never heard of such a thing. Where could the reporter glean this information?
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story in our paper this morning, was there?
It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on with the strictest of confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project, and suddenly, there's the proof I need.
Thank you. I would have loved to check this earlier, but, you know, alright. So now that I have this, alright, where did you say, in other words, no good reason? Yes, there is, because if let's see, does this actually say, following lecture, deadly poison means, I needed to say, smallest amount entering the body, a smallest amount entering the body would prove fatal in minutes. Yeah, exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. There you go. Objection! I told you, no one believes, no one in this courtroom thinks, apparently. It's very, very simple. No, there's one possibility. Hey, remember earlier when they were making fun of Susato for not having the brain capacity to figure stuff out? Yeah, well, guess what? Now you all look like big old idiots, because you can't figure out very simple concepts such as this. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What?
Ha! The Yoko not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser.
Now that's just you in life. Tell us, I mean, well, I guess you're a great loser because you're just so good at losing.
Tell us then, what possibility you think you identified?
It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from the laboratory at the Imperial Yamai University.
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance to this case.
But...
Prosecutor Ouchie, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article, the court cannot rely on this kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentions the affirmed assertion.
Your Excellency!
Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife is, deadly in tiny quantities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Are you suggesting?
If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mambami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
I really like this new... Like, I want to call it the objection theme because it plays after every objection, but apparently it's more like the adventure theme or whatever. So, I don't know, whatever the music is, I love it.
This is complete and utter nonsense.
Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life. And the prosecution cannot deny the possibility.
Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document.
No, but you know what is in the document? Because wait, what doesn't say something else about... Where did it say? I saw it. It was like a fleeting glance that I saw it. Yeah, right there. And acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. And you know what else we saw? You know what else we saw in the post-mortem report? We saw that, extreme meiosis pupil constriction. So yes, Mr. Ouchie Pain in my ass, it does appear, maybe the word doesn't appear, but the effects of the poison certainly do appear in that document.
Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking...
Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is ever reliable anyway.
Alright, well, allow me to show you some proof.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive, but instead you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it? Yoko?
Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, then I'll give you grounds. What?
Wait, you can't possibly...
From your expression, Counselor, it would appear that those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times from my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, Counsel, you'll present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison newspaper article? That's the most post-mortem report.
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim. Clearly, being a Yoko with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea. So please do tell me. Oh my god, she's awesome. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death. Under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was an extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes.
What are you doing, you Yoko detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death.
What?
If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely...
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
For Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence! Oh, how satisfying it is.
I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions.
No.
Hyujin Mikotama. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense's counsel arguments. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Ha! Listen to this bumbling academic.
After what just happened about 2 minutes ago, I don't know that I would be in the position to be calling anyone else bumbling.
Unaware of the theft of the secret safe research from his own workplace until he reads of it in a newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father!
Tch, a pitiful situation for a university professor.
You're not in a much better position here, buddy. fact, I'd say you're in a much worse position.
You should have more control of your sins.
Okay, well, then you should have more control over the courtroom as the prosecutor in this damn case, since as you so expertly pointed out, the defense lawyer is a bit of a rookie, and yet she's stomping your ass into the ground. Wait, what just happened? Oh, Ray, no, don't speak. The more you speak, the worse it gets. Please, Ray, no.
None of this is President Mikutaba's fault. It's all my fault. Oh, god damn it. Ray!
Membami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew. I'd been placed in charge. It was the day the professor and Saki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So, I decided to try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course, it was that dainty English woman.
Mr. Talbot?
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool in the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it's you who stole the poison.
Well now, whatever do you mean?
And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me, and then collapsing on the floor.
So, did someone lift up the curtain of the beach hut behind her?
That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her. Which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes, if the amount that entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might have still had a chance. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have dutifully noted the courage with which you confessed to the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom now.
Yeah, without a visual indicator, like a literal physical balance indicator, visual indicator of balance to show when it shifted. I gotta say, it's a little harder to tell.
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed.
Well,
You have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you?
Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive.
What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Professor Ouchi.
Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student.
What?
I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you have brought this on yourself.
Okay, so that would be possible. That this would have been shown whether she was pushing it into the victim or out of the victim. She would have had to do that to pull the knife out of the victim. What do you? This photo that you show me is perfectly in line with everything that we've learned up until this point. Like the whole tyrant that she just went on about how she pulled the knife out of the victim. She would have had to get down in this position on her knees to do this anyway. So I don't know what you think you're trying to prove here, buddy. But it's not going as well for you as you think it is. Also, this is just a shit picture anyway. Well, okay, well, one, it proves that you could have entered it from behind, right? Because there's clearly a hole, or at least they parted the walls of the huts to be able to peek through. But also, it's just a shit picture because there's a giant crack in the lens, so I don't know what... Wait, no, we've seen it before! Wait, we've seen it before! We've seen it before, and where's the stupid right here? Yes! Oh, it's this... Okay. Oh, we're gonna call him the stand. We're gonna call that piece of shit to the stand. The guy, whenever Saseki-san does his little alliteration by saying words thing, where he says 4 in a row, there was always that little guy behind him that kept taking the pictures as he did it. I guarantee you, because this is all some big publicity event, right? It's got to be him. He's the one that took the picture. So all we gotta do is just call him to the stand and get him to tell us whether the picture was taken when she pulled the knife out or stabbed the knife in. Very clever again. It's a very, I mean, I wouldn't call it a subtle detail, but it's a cool detail nonetheless. Girls in the air. I don't care. Call him to the stand. Call him to the stand and end this.
This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature, for it shows the precise moment that Mbabi's son plunged. No, you can't prove that. You can't prove that. You know what? I'll concede one thing. You can't prove that it's when she was stabbed, and I can prove it was when she was pulled out. But there is someone who can prove it, and it's Soseki's reporter/photographer. So why don't we just bring him all up here to the stand and end this once and for all? I don't believe it. Ah!
Order. Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that pierced my courtroom?
Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature.
That's the thing that set you off, not the... Okay.
I'll show you who's slow to mature.
Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence.
Alright, so let's just call the photographer. I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time. Well, it's because he knows that it's bullshit. He sees the crack and he knows there's something wrong with it, but he used it as a last resort. It makes sense. It's such a stark image. I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Ray.
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Oh! That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. Excuse me. Jesus, bad time to cough.
I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once.
Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Oh, don't worry, I can. Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday, but there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness.
Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence. Didn't you?
Silence the you yokel student blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth of this print so eloquently expresses.
But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back.
The moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste the court's time with your ramblings.
Indeed. Without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. Okay, well, that's fine, because I do know who produced the print, and I can call him to the stand right now. And the scene and sticker capture is without a doubt the most compelling evidence to present to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
Oh no!
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim.
Yes, we just need to prove that somehow.
Shh. You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against ouchie pain in my ass in a court of law.
If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial's going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is, I have the answer! This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal.
What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name.
How utterly underwhelming.
However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity.
What?
Very well done, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence you claim reveals something about... That'd be the article.
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? Raucous England attorney tells all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side.
Ah, yes indeed. They had already caught my eye, as it happens.
Ha! What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like.
There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph...
Good gracious!
Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph, too.
Well, that tells us nothing.
It tells us everything, you moron.
Ha! Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree.
There wouldn't be any trees going inside the house of the beach, Council.
What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have been transpired?
The curious matching patterns that appears in both photograph prints are the result of a camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device?
Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched. And that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device.
In short, these two photographs under construction here, or under consideration here, were taken with the same camera.
But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
I think you're forgetting, Professor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article.
A newspaper? Ah!
That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
Wah! Wah!
Well, look who decided to finally join the party.
I see how you are called a raucous England attorney.
What are you yelling about? You've already testified.
It's Menamimo.
Menamimo? Really?
Mo! Soseki-san? What was that? Did you say Menamimo? Menamimo. Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Ryutaro Menamimo. Ha! Now that he mentions it.
Yep, that's what I said. It's exactly who I said it was.
A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Ryutaro Menamimo. Menamimo.
So you're saying that this picture was taken by...
By Menamimo! Yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire.
Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, your excellency.
As you say, your excellency.
And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood?
Menamimo.
How's that for a successful starter? Oh my god, this case is incredible! You're giving Turnabout Target a run for its money there, pal. You are giving Turnabout Target a run for its money. Holy hell, this is fantastic. It's exactly what I wanted back in the last game, and it's finally come to fruition. Okay, that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. I hope to catch you all tomorrow for some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Goodbye.